Trump wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants big tax cuts, but not big deficit. He wants high tariffs, but not high interest rates. To ensure he can have it all, he's launched nothing short of a hostile takeover of the Federal Reserve this week. But will he succeed? And what should you be doing with your money right now? Economics is the science of trade-offs. At its core, economics is about how scarce resources are allocated and how every choice comes with an opportunity cost. Want more growth? You might get more inflation. Want lower taxes? That means fewer public services or high deficits. But what about higher tariffs? As I argue in a previous video, higher tariffs don't necessarily mean higher inflation. However, when the increase in tariff is paired with a loosening of fiscal policy, the outcome is no longer in doubt. Inflation becomes inevitable. All else being equal, the combination of Trump's tariffs and his big beautiful bill, which lowers taxes on Social Security income, tips, overtime pay, while increasing state and local tax deductions, will result in higher inflation over time. As I explained 2 weeks ago, the decision by corporate America to meet demand in Q2 by mainly drawing down inventories may have bought Trump some time. But with the holiday shopping seasons less than 3 months away, and with restocking already underway, we will soon see higher prices or lower corporate profit margins, or both. Economics says that there is no free lunch in the world, even for the President of the United States. But that doesn't mean Trump won't push his luck. Trump's decision this week to fire Lisa Cook is proof that he won't stop at anything. The FOMC consists of 7 governors and 5 regional Fed presidents. The 7 governors are nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. The regional Fed presidents are selected by the Regional Reserve Bank Board of Directors, but approved by the Fed governors. Of the 7 current governors, 4 are Biden appointments, 2 are Trump appointments, and Trump just nominated Stephen Moran to the vacant seat. After firing Lisa Cook this week, Trump said that he will soon have a Fed majority. Presumably what he meant by a majority is having 4 appointees on the Board of Governors. This can happen in one of 2 ways. 1, the courts uphold Trump's decision to fire Lisa Cook for cause. 2, Jerome Powell leaves the Fed after his term as chair expires on May 2026. Neither outcome is a given though. For instance, Powell can decide to serve out his term as governor, which does not expire until January 2028. It would be a very unusual move, but it is theoretically possible, especially if Powell truly believes the independence of the Fed is under attack. The statement issued by the Fed following Trump's decision to fire Cook this week made clear that the Fed is seriously concerned. The statement says that Congress, through the Federal Reserve Act, directs that governors serve in long fixed terms and may be removed by the president only for cause. The statement went on to say that long tenures and removal protections for governors serve as a vital safeguard, ensuring that monetary policy decisions are based on data, economic analysis, and the long-term interests of the American people. There is a scenario in which Powell is the only person in the world who can protect the Fed against Donald Trump. If that scenario were to come to pass, my money is on Powell doing the right thing. The Unitary executive theory says that the president has sole authority over the executive branch. Proponents of the theory believe that the U.S. Constitution gives the president the power to remove heads of independent agencies for any reasons. In recent decisions, the Supreme Court has shown broad endorsement of the Unitary executive theory. In 2020, the Supreme Court in Saylor Law versus CFPB eliminated for cause removal protection for the director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, citing separation of powers concerns. In July this year, the Supreme Court backed Trump's decision to remove 3 Democratic commissioners of the Consumer Product Safety Commission. But the Fed is not just any independent federal agency. In the ruling of the CFPB case, Justice Samuel Alito wrote that the Federal Reserve is a special arrangement sanctioned by history. In other words, the Fed is unique and cannot be treated like other independent agencies. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote in Saylor Law that the court's precedents have long recognized a distinction between multi-member expert agencies that do not wield substantial executive power and single directors who do. The Federal Reserve's 7-member Board of Governors stands in sharp contrast to agencies led by a single executive wielding concentrated power. Of course, not all justices are of the same view as Roberts and Alito, but I think it is safe to assume that the majority are. This does not mean that they will necessarily challenge Trump over the definition of cause in his decision to dismiss Cook. But it likely means that for the Supreme Court to uphold Trump's decision to fire Lisa Cook, the cause that he cited must have legal merit. Trump is accusing Cook of mortgage fraud. In 2021, before Cook was appointed to the Board of Governors, she took out 2 mortgages that were both designated as her primary residence. Did she intentionally defraud the banks in order to obtain more favorable terms for the loans? The mortgages required the borrowers to, within 60 days, occupy the property as the borrower's principal residence for at least 1 year after the date of the occupancy, unless lender otherwise agrees in writing, which consent shall not be unreasonably withheld, or unless extenuating circumstances exist, which are beyond borrower's control. We don't know if Lisa Cook obtained such an agreement from the banks, or whether there were extenuating circumstances. Whether there were extenuating circumstances or not, the U.S. was still under COVID lockdowns in 2021. And Michigan State University, where Cook was on faculty, had not yet resumed in-person classes when she took out her mortgages. Reuters reported this week, citing Cook's financial disclosures, that the mortgage rates she got were higher than the prevailing national averages at the time. This could be evidence that her lenders were informed about her primary residence status. The bidding odds on poly market of Lisa Cook out as Fed governor by the end of the year is currently at 25%. I'm not a legal expert, but it feels right to me. This means Trump will have limited influence on how the Fed will set interest rates at least over the next 3 FOMC meetings, if not beyond. Even if both Powell and Cook were to depart from the Fed, it is still not clear that Trump will be able to dictate the Fed's interest rate decisions. For one thing, there will still be 5 regional presidents on the FOMC voting panel. No doubt once Trump's appointees have a majority on the Board of Governors, they can exercise major influence over the selections of the regional Fed presidents. However, for this to happen, it will have to happen very soon, since the 5-year terms of all 12 regional Federal Reserve Bank will expire simultaneously on the last day of February in 2026. 2-year Treasury yields fell sharply following Trump's decision to fire Lisa Cook. At the time of the recording of this video, it is on the verge of breaking the May low. This is a strong indication that the market is taking Trump's firing of Cook seriously and has upped the probability that Trump will succeed in getting the Fed to cut rates more aggressively. I'm more optimistic than the market that the Fed will survive Trump's assault. This is why I remain short the December 26 SOFR futures. And I would even consider adding to it if 2-year yields fall much more. As I said, I think inflation is set to pick up now that the restocking of the inventory has begun in earnest. The inflation under Biden helped get Trump elected. Once the inflation gets above 3%, the battle between Trump and the Fed will start to move in favor of the Fed. Time is not on Trump's side. Thank you for listening.